Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel Applied Civil Engineering, where I will post lots of civil engineering topics which is very relevant for young professionals who is entering into the civil engineering professional field as a young engineer, as well as these topics are very important for the final year students who is actually going to enter into the professional career in 1 year or so. This contents will also be useful for the students who are pursuing their BTech degree just from their first year courses to the final year journey. So, if this course or my contents is followed, then I am sure that every professionals and students gather a bit inside of the project workflow and what is the role of a civil engineer. During my initial days as a civil engineering professional, I often want to find out answer of this question, that what is my role actually, what I am doing for a project, and how a project develops from a concept stage to completion stage, and exactly how my role is important into the whole journey as a civil engineer, and where actually my role is a critical one. So, after being there in a professional field for a considerable amount of time, as I have already gone through various phases of these projects, various projects in India and abroad, where I have gathered lots of knowledge during my various roles as in different part of the project. I find this video will be very useful to these young professionals as well as the students to know what they will actually do when they will enter into the professional field, and that will make them interested on their job profile as well. So, not wasting much time, let us move on to the main topic of today. So, how a project develops from a concept stage to commissioning stage, that is very important, and it is required to be known for every engineering professionals as well as students, that how a project develops, how the entire journey commences, and how it has commissioned to produce the end products. So, the first step is comes from the client. So, the client intends to set up facilities. So, that is the term facilities is very important here. So, what is actually facilities? Facilities, it can be different things. For industry body, it may be termed as set up a new industry, or revamping an industry or a component part, that may be useful for industry. There is some part in the infrastructure field as well, so that's roads network, drainage networks, airports, railways, all these things are also coming under the infrastructure field. So, all these things together we can call it like a facilities. Now, here the term client is very important. Who are our clients? So, clients may be a government body, such as you can see that in the steel plant, if we are talking about SAIL, PSU, RINL, that is Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited, who is actually operating the Vizag steel plant. So, they are the government bodies who is actually producing the steel. Also, various state electricity production companies are there, who is actually generating the power sector. So, they are also the government clients. There are private organization too. It is if we concentrate on the steel sector, We can see the Tata Steel is a conglomerate over there, as well as JSW Steels are there, Nippon Steels are there, ArcelorMittal is there. So these are the private organization who sets up plants and factories. So to generate more revenue from their output products, clients often intends to revamp their existing facilities to upscale the production level, and sometimes they want to set up a new plant or a new facilities in the land acquired by them. So there are two sort of facilities that we should have to consider. One is the greenfield expansion. Greenfield expansion is the in the greenfield project is like that the entire new setup is come up in a land acquired by a client company. So that is called greenfield project, where everything is new. And there is one term called brownfield. So brownfield is a project. Brownfield projects are this kind of projects that it is actually set up inside a existing facility. Say inside a plant, some particular area is revamped, or some or inside a plant in some vacant land, some sort of new facilities are coming up. So this greenfield and brownfield, these two things are available for upgradation of facilities. So that is always comes from the client. So client intends to set up these facilities according to their requirements. Now to make all this process smooth, they appoint an engineering consultant. So this engineering consultant is no one but one engineering house who is specialist into that particular engineering field, and they are able to guide the client about what is the requirement to set up this new facilities or revamp the facilities capacity, what is the market projection or economic consideration, what will be the capex expenditure, that means the capital expenditure, what will be the opex, that is operating expenditure, and what is the profit margin that one can the client expect or the client expects from the near future. So this engineering consultant are the person or the house who is expert, who have expertise in this field due to their large data banks or their involvement in these engineering fields from a considerable amount of time. So they are guiding this client for this journey, entire journey from conceptualization to commissioning. So this engineering consultant is appointed by the client. Now often this engineering consultant given a task of the techno-commercial study. Techno-commercial study means that it is often called as techno-economic evaluation or techno-economic feasibility report. So this report is nothing but a basic report to set up a plant or revamp the capacity of a plant, or in the infrastructure field the necessity or the requirement of the upgradation of a existing network, road or rail network, and if it is a new type of project required, that is also the base area of this techno commercial study. So on the basic project requirement, this techno-economic or techno-commercial study is prepared. Now what is actually studied into this techno-commercial study? So if I talk about the industrial part, so in that case the location where and the what is the requirement of the raw materials are there, what is the logistic available, and what is the connectivities through various road links, railway links, airways, ports, all these things is studied, and what will be the capex requirement for this project, capex means the capital expenditure means that to set up the plant or to develop or the revamp the capacity of a project or a facility. So what is the expenditure that the clients needs to make to make the project feasible? So that is very very important, because most of these projects the clients have to borrow from a bank or the financial institution. So how much they will borrow, and that will going to impact all their plans throughout a considerable amount of time. So that is the capex. What will be the capex requirement for the project, and what will be the OPEX? OPEX is that operational expenditure, that during the plant operation, when the plant is developed and operationalized, so during the course of operation what will be the expenditure, and after this what will be the outcome. So what will be the market demand of the output product, that is also very very important, and with a substantial projection of years, that these demands will be going up, these demands may go down, with ups and buts, ifs and buts, ups downs, all these things is reported on these reports. So that is the basic techno commercial study report where these things have been evaluated. So now once this techno commercial report is submitted, now client go through this report, and then with their senior leadership they decide whether to go or no go with the project. So sometimes this kind of projects is the clients actually saying that they will go for the project as per the report, if that found to be suitable for them as per budgetary allocation. Sometimes if the budget is constrained for them, they will ask the consultant to make necessary addition or deletion into the process facilities, so that they can make the project within the budget. So after that, when everything is finalized and the this capex is okay, and the OPEX is okay from the client side, so then if the client finalized to go for the project, so they will ask for a detailed project report. So in the detailed project report is a elaborated part of this techno commercial study, where each and every aspects of the project in studied in detail, with from raw materials, from water balance, so in case of infrastructure products, what is the demand, what is the traffic intensity for the roadways, what may be the projected traffic, all these things has been analyzed, and knowledge is gathered from the existing study reports, and what is the existing capacities of the road networks or railway networks, what is the and the industry output. All these things have been studied in detail, and a detailed project report to set up the plant is prepared with a budget. That will be our budget for this whole project. That is the main important. So once this detail engineering project is approved by the client, of course for that client needs to go for the budgetary approval from their board of directors, that is BOD. So once this budgetary approval is made, so then the client, if they thinks to go ahead with the project, so they give go ahead to the consultant for preparation of scope document and specification. So what is scope document? Scope document is that in this phase we have to that is mainly the tendering preparation part. So in the tender preparation part, we have to give the bidder a concise idea what actually needed from their side to set up the plant, what they have to do when they will set up the plant. So in detail we have to write all these things. So it is often discipline specific. Say for example, mechanical is writing their scope document on their own. Civil engineering counterpart, we have to do the scope document part, what they have to do as a civil engineer. I will discuss in detail in my next slide on this. And after that comes from the technical specification. In the technical specification side, we have to write down, or we have to write what will be the quality standard of the entire project that the bidder has to follow during the execution of the project. That is very, very important to retain the quality policy and the good quality of construction and engineering aspects. So this is very, very important to consider from a technical aspects. And sometimes the preliminary engineering drawing is prepared, although it is not very relevant for civil engineering aspects, but it is very important from the mechanical, electrical engineering perspective, where some preliminary very basic engineering drawings have been prepared to give the bidder a brief idea about various facilities, various units, and what is the bottlenecks, what will be the mass balance, what will be the water balance, all these things, and the preliminary PNID diagram that has been given. So I will not going into details on that. In some other presentation I will elaborate these things in a better clarified way. So these things are prepared during this stage. Now once this scope document, technical specification and preliminary engineering drawing is prepared, so that is now going to make a part of a tender document. So now this NIT is published into popular newspapers. Sometimes it is done by the client side, sometimes it's done by the consultant itself. So a tender, it is nothing but you can always see a tender NIT pub advertisement in lots of newspapers and all, where the basic summary of the project with a basic expenditure is given in the newspaper. One people has to, or the probable bidder has to go for the links provided there to download the entire tender document, where this all the specifications, scope documents, preliminary drawings are available for a bidder to go through the project, to understand the project, and thereby quote their commercial part, that means their price part, what they will charge for these things. So there are also various kinds of mode of execution of these projects. Some modes are EPC mode. In that case, engineering, procurement and construction is made by a single party. Sometimes it has, the project is developed in a discrete turnkey mode, where the consultants made the engineering drawing. Some equipment supplier, they will supply the equipments. There are some consultant or some other engineering body who will do the engineering part, and there will be a one third party who will execute the job. So based on the client needs or the project needs, these things is finalized. I will prepare another video on this topic afterwards. So in that video that will be more detail. So based on this NIT, various bidders have submitted or submit their offers, and both in commercial and technical aspect. There are also always there is two types of submission. One is technical offer submission and one is commercial offer submission. So commercial offer is not opened at first. First of all, the technical offer is opened. So say there are, for a particular job there are 3 bidders, say A, B, C. So in each bidder will provide 2 sort of documents, that is one technical document, one commercial document for each of the bidder. There is A also submit the technical and commercial document, B also submit the technical commercial document, and C as well submit the technical and commercial document. Now all these documents now is referred to the consultant side. So the consultant go through this technical document and find the lacuna into the documentation. The consultant wants to understand whether they have whether the bidder has considered all the project's scope into their workflow, also whether the bidder agreed to do the work with the entire technical specification compliance. So that is ensured around the whole evaluation process. So if there is some gap into the offer, so often these things are clarified with the bidder, that so you are writing this in your bid these things, but in my technical specification or scope I have asked for some different things, so whether you will do that or not. So often these kinds of technical clarification is made during this offer evaluation process. So that is taken up for A, B, C, all these three vendors. So once this technical evaluation of all these three parties is done, so one TER is prepared. So TER it is nothing but is called techno-economic recommendation. So in that case what happens actually, as per the scope or the technical specification, we have the consultant identify the major part. So based on this major part, this all the parties is evaluated, that this party will do these things, this party will not agree to do things, this party say A party is want to do the civil work, B party is not wanted to do the civil work, C party is wanted to do the civil work. So in this kind of some bullet points this evaluation is made. So and a recommendation is made from the consultant side. So in each discipline wise this offer is evaluated from the technical aspect. So in civil engineering, civil aspect also we have to go through this all these technical offers and prepare a techno-economic recommendation, where we will recommend that okay, this A party has agreed all our requirements, so this party is technically okay, but B party is not agreed to, with our requirements, so that is not okay, and C party is agreed with our requirements, so this is okay. So based on the part, then client will decide whether they will allow party B for the project. So if they not allow, then there will be two party only, that is A or C, who will whose commercial bid will be open, the price bid is open. So based on the price bid, this L1 bidder is selected, that is often guided by the person or the party who is actually the lowest bidder. So after that L1 is party is selected. After that when they will receive the LOI, the letter of intent, they started the basic engineering. So in the basic engineering, lots of basic engineering drawings is prepared for the say the basic scheme drawings for mechanical, electrical, all these things are prepared. So based on this basic engineering, based on this basic engineering, then detail engineering part is generated. So that in the detail engineering, there's the foundations, structures, drawings are created from this basic engineering drawings. So in the detail engineering drawing, all these detailed drawings has been developed. So that is the part of the detail engineering. So based on the detail engineering drawing, after that the construction and erection is happened into the site, and after successful construction and erection part, this commissioning activity or the handover activity is done at site. So it is very important to understand what is the role of a civil engineer in the whole process. I have already elaborated a brief of this into my earlier slide, but here I will provide with some bullet points what is the role of a civil engineer in the whole process. So one civil engineering guy called layout engineer, they have to prepare the area layout during the basic as well as the detail engineering, showing the disposition of major units or facilities as well as the main road and drain layouts. That is required for every phase, for TFR, DPR, and the detail engineering phase. All this phase, this area layout is required, and it is going to be modified in every phase based on the requirements. So in the TFR stage, as a civil engineer has to assess the approximate total concrete and steel quantity which will be required for the project, and what is the cost of the civil work for the whole project, that needs to be ascertained. So often this concrete and steel quantity is generated from the data bank or the past data that is available with the engineering house, the consultant house. So that is very important. Into the DPR stage also, while calculating this concrete and steel quantity, some calculation, precise calculation is made so that these quantities can be more optimized based on available information. So that is on DPR stage. This is the role of a civil engineer. So after that, when the tendering phase comes, so a civil engineer has to prepare the scope document from the civil engineering aspects, that what the bidder has to do to execute the project correctly into the during the journey of the project, as well as the specification of civil work that needs to be prepared, with some preliminary engineering drawing for civil work. For say that is the entirely civil items called, say if there is an admin complex, if there is a canteen complex, which is entirely, it is not dependent on mechanical, electrical or other discipline units, it is entirely the civil units. So in that case, some basic engineering drawings for these units have to be prepared, which will be used by the bidder for a baseline for their estimation of work. And also sometimes it is not sometimes, it is very often a BOQ is prepared based on the project requirement. Sometimes detailed BOQ is generated, sometimes major quantities is calculated from the project requirements. That is depends upon the project. So this BOQ, based on this BOQ, the cost calculation is made, final cost calculation is made for execution of the project. So after the cost component is evaluated, then the tender is float. So based on that, now our quality standard is known to us. Now the cost component is known to us. So now the NIT is float, a bidder has offered. So with now we have to evaluate the bidder's offer, as I have already told in my earlier slides that we have to evaluate in certain criteria as per the scope and technical specification document, whether they have agreed with all the requirements of the project in civil aspect or not. That we have to evaluate for each and every bidder and prepare one techno-economic evaluation report. So that is the job of a civil engineer. So after that, when in the basic engineering stage, the initial tender drawings of the ancillary facilities is precised, or it is some more work is done on this scheme drawings to make a final look of the building for detail engineering aspects. So in the basic engineering, the small portion of these things, ancillary facilities, we have to do. After that, in detail engineering phase, a civil engineer has to do lots of works. So in that case, they have to prepare detail building drawings. It may be concrete structure drawings, it may be steel structure drawings, it may be equipment foundation drawings. So this is prepared into the detail engineering stage. So often to do this detail engineering, we have to know the basic engineering inputs as our assignments. So this called assignments. That is very important. This civil engineer has to do their work based on the assignments, which often provided by other discipline of engineering. For electrical projects, that's electrical engineering departments or organization is providing the information or necessary input for civil engineering activity, the size of the substation or building, size of the towers, all these things, the complex size, the size of the transformer foundation, all these things has been provided by the electrical engineering side. and if this is the mechanical side, so then mechanical inputs, the pump data, there is RPM, size of the base frames, all these things is provided. So based on this basic engineering inputs and the equipment supplier inputs, which is also a part of the basic engineering, then the detail engineering part is developed by the civil engineer based on these things. So based on these things, when the detail engineering drawing is prepared, so then these drawings then goes to site, and the construction and erection activity is started at site. So apart from this construction and erection activity, there is one entirely civil engineering part, that is called site grading. So site grading is nothing but gradation of a site to a final formation level. So often you may know that if one plant is going to set up in a vacant land, there may be ups and downs in the land. So based on the project facilities, in different area, different level ground is planned based on the process cycles and the requirements. So first of all, these various levels required to be created into the land by means of cutting. Often if it is a hilly terrain, or if there is a excess earth sometimes is there, so in that case that should be cut. And sometimes if there is a low lying area, we have to fill that to make this a level ground and as per the requirement of the finished ground level. So the site grading is very, very important. That is also is a part of civil engineering discipline. So this site grading drawing is prepared by a civil engineer considering the layout in mind. So that is very important. And after the construction and erection activity is over, then there is one quality check, quality inspection is there. There is also quality check in every field in this construction process. There is dedicated quality laboratory set up into the plant to see the quality standard of the materials supplied to the site, and the construction is carried out. Also visual inspection is carried out to seek any modification requirement or rectification requirement is there. So that is the part of the job of the civil engineer. Also there is civil engineer are posted deputed at site, who is looking after the entire construction activity of the civil engineering structures. Those engineering experts are specially experienced in the erection and commissioning planning. So there are lots of things, or there are lots of planning is required for a particular critical erection activities. So that is entirely a different subject, or entirely different wings of the civil engineering one has to understand. So that's in brief a role of a civil engineer in this whole engineering process. I hope you like this video, and please follow us on Applied Civil Engineering channel on YouTube. And if you have any specific query or suggestion on this topic, you can write to us in applied.civil@gmail.com. Also, we would like to know from your the topic that you required us to highlight, or you required us to provide some insight on that. So we will prepare one video on that particular topic in the near future and post into the channel, so that one can gather knowledge on the same. So thank you very much for your patience listening. Please stay tuned to my YouTube channel. Thank you.